the value that this gives to your projects. So let's bring that back to -100. And of course, if we had added the rotation control in here, we could even rotate them. So let's now go to the project window, and I'm going to add the orb. So in this case, I have this little 3D sphere orb in here that I have already done. If you are interested in knowing how you can create these kind of orbs, we can actually make a whole video on this. So let me know in the comment section below. So I'm going to simply drag and drop this inside of our composition in here. And one thing that we can do, we can turn this to a 3D layer, and we can then link it to the effector and play around with the position, etc. But since we are using expressions, we're going to use a nice, simple expression to help us with this. So I also have this typed in here. If you would like to see this, you can simply go to the link below and simply copy and paste this. And I'm going to place this over the position. So I'm going to leave this to a 2D layer, and I'll click on position, and we're going to paste this right over this. And this is basically taking the 3D value and changing it into a 2D position value. So like this orb, we don't have to worry about the lighting of the scene. This orb would stay basically the same, and it would still follow this effector. So wherever this goes, that orb goes. Now over this little 3D sphere in here, I'm going to add a glow effect from here, and we're going to increase the radius in here and somewhere around here, and that looks quite good. So I like how this looks. So this is basically how my scenes are set up. As you can see, you have the effector, and wherever it goes, the layers react to that. And you can, of course, keyframe this layer to make the animation. In this example, we're going to see how we can do the same thing, but using the preset. So let's now go to the effector. As you can see, it is empty. In this case, I only have 10 squares just to keep everything simple in here. I'm going to go to the effects and presets, and it's already installed in here for me under my user presets in MoGraph presets. So let's go to the MoGraph effector, and we can simply double click on that, and that would add this effect for us over the effector. And as you can see, the great thing about this is that everything is very organized in here. So you can see the effector and its properties, the radius and radius strength, and then you can see the affected properties. You also have a section for special properties, which we can apply to any property. So for instance, if you had a blur, you can apply the same expressions and techniques that we have done to that blur layer or any other property. We'll see in a few minutes how you can actually use the power of these special properties. So let's close that, and now let's go to all of these squares, and I would like to animate these. So to do that, I'm going to go to the MoGraph 3D layer, and these are in 3D, so I'm adding the 3D layer. If you are using the 2D, you're going to add the 2D layer. So double click, and it will do everything automatically for us. If I move this around, you can see the effect is already happening in here. Of course, the scale in this case, let's reduce it a little bit in size, and we can play with the position as we have done before. So we can position that downward, for instance, and in this case, we have the rotation already applied as well. So we can rotate them like that, and however we like, just like that. Very nice. And now we can, as you can see the power of this. In this case, the color is not applied automatically. That's a specific preset in here. So we can go to double click on U in here, go to the color field in here, and then simply go to MoGraph color property. If I pick the null in here, the effector, and move it over that layer, we can changing color as well. Of course, you can apply it to all the other layers as we have done before. So now let's see this scene and how we have made this, where the actual null layer, the effector, is triggering an animation in here. And as you can see, in this case, it is triggering an opposite animation. So these are going up and these are going down. So let's see how we can do that. I have already set up the objects in here just the same way as we have done before, and I already have the color expression written in there, so we don't have to worry about copying and pasting in there. So that is done already. So, and now in this case, we are going to use, so in this case, it is necessary to use this plugin